Hi, I just want to do another recording and just highlight a bit more on reflective practice, but also highlight how much content we do cover in our classes. There is a lot that we cover, whether in breakout spaces, in me talking, in people sharing. There is a lot with our time together in the class space that we can cover. And sometimes our material provided to me is not extensive and I ad lib wherever possible. And you know that I like to share stories and I do that. And I want engagement and storytelling from anyone who wants to. And we have the space in class a lot of weeks to talk about assessments. And I give people the opportunity to role play or engage in an assessment activity, either with me or with other students. And if that's the case, that is not recorded content, along with videos and breakout spaces and personal information that is not recorded. So just to highlight what we actually cover in class, if you don't attend class on the night it's scheduled and you catch the recording, that's what we cover there. But just to give a bit more content, I know not everyone comes to class and or catches the recording. So a bit more content on reflective practice because it is incredibly important. It's what our subject is asking of us. It wouldn't be in our course material if it wasn't important. So just to take away the idea of reflective practice being airy-fairy, it's so much more than that. When we look internally, this can be identified as introspection or being introspective. And we're trying to identify assumptions governing our actions, locating historical and cultural origins of assumptions, questioning the meaning of assumptions, and developing alternate ways of acting. In the other recording, we talked about problem solving. And so when we are introspective, it's looking at solving problems, it's looking at finding answers, it's looking at trying to understand what we're doing and why. So if you were to do more research into reflection or reflective practice, you'll probably come across the terms critical reflection or critical reflection in the workplace. And that's a big part of where it started. And it started in the counseling profession more so, and it's really been expanded to so many different industries, whether in human services or not, but we'll see it quite often in the work that we'll do. If you're working in this space, in AOD, in mental health, in community services, homelessness, aged care, youth, you will see it. And it's really important to do so. When we are engaging in reflective practice, we're looking at improving our own practice. If we take time to reflect on different parts of work, it's bound to lead to improvement. We can learn from reflective practice. There is lots of good evidence, lots of research already done that purposeful reflection helps deep learning take place. And this helps make connections between different aspects of your work. And when we talk about work, you can also apply the thinking of in your studies here. Another benefit is that enhances problem-solving skills. By carefully and honestly considering problems and multiple perspective solutions can be found. We can become a critical thinker. Critical thinking is about thinking well, and reflective practice allows one to adjust what they think to take account of changes in circumstances. We can question, how are assumptions correct? It helps to make decisions. As you reflect on your practice, you will find you need to make decisions about what to do or not do next. It can help improve your own organizational skills. If we're thinking carefully about what we're doing, identifying possible actions and choices, trying out solutions, and adjusting what to do involves a great deal of organization. It helps manage personal change. If you're using techniques of reflective practice, involving being calm, thoughtful, honest, critical, and organized thinking and action, this should introduce a calming and less emotional response to any change. Another benefit is acknowledging personal values. Things that take place that might come up within a professional situation will challenge, make you think about your own values. We've spoken a lot about ethics, what you believe in, what you think is right and wrong. You can look at taking your own advice when you're reflective. We are all our most critical self to ourselves. And sometimes it can be a real challenge to actually believe in ourselves, and believe what we're thinking to be true. Not in a, it's wrong, but in a doubting, is that really, do I need more research? Do I need to ask someone else? Maybe all of that is helpful. But through reflective practice, a lot of times you can look at things and go, oh, that was the best option. Or yes, I think that's the best course to take. I'll do that. And this is that space to really look at the heart of reflective practice and the heart of what you're trying to do in this space of where you want to work and who you want to be as a practitioner in that space. So how can we add reflective practice in our routines, in our workplaces, in our work behavior? Well, it starts with you. You can build a habit of self-reflection, asking yourself questions, reviewing your own practice. This could be written, this could be in your head, this could be recorded. Writing is incredibly helpful for learning and growing. You might have a set of questions that you ask yourself all the time when you stop in this reflective space. It's important that supervisors check in with workers. This could be individually or in groups, and you need to discuss work practice. Supervisors need to come at it from a not what you're doing wrong and right, but in a what's working, what's not helpful, what do you find successes, what's been a challenge, what do we do moving forward, how can we work together? Your organization will and should have processes in place to engage in supervision and reflective practice. This might be through formal one-on-one supervision that's scheduled weekly or fortnightly. I hope that you have the space to go and talk to your supervisor as well when things come up for you. Don't let them wait. Oh, we're meeting next Friday. I'll wait till then. Don't wait. Make sure you have that space to go and talk to your supervisor. Debriefing sessions can be conducted immediately or soon after a challenging situation or the end of a shift. This can be between you and your supervisor, you and a colleague, or you and a group of colleagues. That peer connection can be really helpful in being in the same boat, so to speak, together, and also learning and being supportive of each other. So it's important when you do meet, and if it is of a formal nature with your supervisor, like supervision, that you explain and you do discuss and you do explore strategies to assist in your workplace. It might be how to work with different clients, how to work with complex behaviors, how to juggle multiple caseloads, how to work with someone that's challenging your values and your ethics. Some questions that you might like for yourself in your self-reflection. Write these down if they're helpful for you. What went well? What did not go well? How do I feel? What could have been better? What can I do, be aware of to improve future practice? So they might be helpful questions for you for self-reflection, for you reflecting on your own. You might think about them, might have them written down, and you write something to them. If you are engaging in reflective practice with a supervisor, Gibbs is a wonderful model of reflection. That is a 6-step process. You can do this on your own. This is really helpful with a supervisor, with another person, in a group setting as well. So your first point is to describe what happened. Then you describe how you felt during this event. How did your feelings, values, beliefs influence what has happened? Next, you evaluate. What did you do that worked well? What did not go so well? How did you contribute, either positively or negatively? Next, you analyze. Why did things go well or not well? This is a bit deeper than just stating what didn't work, why they didn't work, your opinion, why they didn't work. This, if you're with someone else, they might comment if they are aware of the situation or have ideas around, I've seen this happen before, this is why it might not have gone well. Within analyze, you also look at, could you have responded differently? What would have helped or improved the way things went? If that's relevant. I said earlier, sometimes the outcome is I would do the same thing again. That's okay, if that's the best course of action for that situation. Next, you conclude. What have I learned? Are there things I would need to learn or practice to do better? And lastly, the action plan. What would you do if the same thing happened again? How could you apply what you have learned? How will you adopt the new approach? If you're interested, I want to take a moment to just talk about the sciencey stuff behind reflection, what the brain does. It's not for you. You can just skip it. But in understanding reflection on learning, the impact reflection has on learning, it's helpful to understand how the brain processes experience. So inward focus and reflection impacts the way our brains make memories, how we make meaning, and how we transfer learning into new contexts. When looking at long-term learning and development, there have been many brain scans and studies that have found that the neural network, so neural is all the chemical processes and zaps that happen in your brain to make things connect. So when you want to reach for a water bottle, your brain has made these connections, these neural networks. So these scans have found that neural networks essential for learning from classroom content are separate from those involved in the reflection and what's known as the consolidation process that accompany formalized learning. So that consolidation is your brain packing things and storing things. And then when you sleep, it kind of files it away. And then you wake up fresh the next day, but it's filed away. And then when you've done that reflective practice, you can think back later on and you can think, oh yeah, what did I do last time? And your brain will pull out that file and tell you what you did last time. That's a really simple way of how memory works. So in this neural partnership, one system is responsible for looking out when we have this conscious effort, and the other one is focused on looking in, which is our reflection, our introspection, remembering, reflecting. Both systems here really important, equally important. Both systems can enhance the brain's performance when working in the other's mode. For example, researchers have found that even momentarily time spent are different processes in the other one. So if the conscious brain is focused on looking in, or vice versa, tasks like perception, attention, and goal-directed cognition, specific cognition, pardon me, it improves that conscious process. So when we look in, when the conscious part looks in, consciousness improves. I know it's a whole lot, but it's super interesting if you want to do some more research into it. But education or educational psychology is a branch of psychology. There are several branches of psychology: educational, occupational, sport, child, and so on. But in educational psychology, it's long since been recognized the impact of reflection on overall brain function and learning. So in schools, reflective practices are a core part of many learning pathways, curriculums. It's an important part in the course that you're studying. And it's been shown to drive improved student performance. An example, when students question their knowledge, they become actively involved in their own learning and expand their capacity to acquire leadership skills. Now, I won't talk about leadership and management, but leadership does not mean management. You can be a leader without being a manager. You can very much benefit from being a leader in the workplace, in your studies, in your family life, in your personal life, for you. Sometimes leadership is about thinking ahead, about being proactive, about being preventative, and jumping on something early on, whether it's early for you, with someone else, whatever the case is. I talk about writing a lot, and journaling is an activity that can help with your reflection and recording your processes, your memories, your events. And this can help to form conclusions and perspectives. There is a lot of research that suggests when you write, you see improvements in creative thinking. This is your ability to think a little bit more broadly, widely and wildly, differently. It's not necessarily about becoming an artist in some kind of way or becoming a musician in some kind of way. Wonderful if that happens. That's not what creative thinking is about. It's about exploring things differently, seeing things from another perspective, having more ideas generated from different viewpoints. And it doesn't get said enough that reflection can enhance overall well-being. Again, more research, and please Google your heart away to find some research. It's there. Research show that brief positive reflective practices at the end of a workday can lead to decreased stress and improved health. Think about that for a moment. Reflecting at the end of the day to decrease stress and improve health. Makes sense to me. I reflect, I brain dump it, or I write it down, and I literally dump it, and I go home. And it's another aspect of cutting the work and the home life and separating. Now, there's a lot to be said about separating worlds. Important to have most of your body at work when you're meant to be at work, and most of your body at home when you're meant to be at home or you want to be at home. But the two worlds often collide because we're human beings. But if you can work on leaving that life there and that life there and downloading it, instead of it just sitting and boiling and bubbling away and being there at the same place tomorrow, that is so beneficial and impactful for you and your well-being. If you constantly cycle through your brain of events and situations and coulda, shoulda, woulda, it's going to eat at you. That's going to negatively impact your health and your relationships and your ability to focus elsewhere where you want to be. I want to read to you a little excerpt about embodiment, self-awareness, and reflective practice, particularly empathy. This comes from a book called Body Movement and Dance in Psychotherapy. Now, don't be alarmed by body movement and dance. Lots of people write about lots of things in different kinds of books. I'm going to share the screen. You can read and follow the words as well if you like. So starting from here, empathy, rumination, and reflection. Being reflective about an experience requires, it seems, that we have data about that experience on which we can reflect. These data might come from our memories of the event and our levels of awareness of the self and others. By increasing self-awareness through practice such as somatic education, we can also develop our levels of empathy. These authors defined empathy as people's observed reactions to each other and clarified this definition with 3 important dimensions within interpersonal relationships: perspective taking, empathic concern, and personal distress. They stated that within this context, perspective taking is a cognitive form of empathy. Empathic concern is an adaptive form, and personal distress is a cognitive and maladaptive form. There are lots of definitions to empathy. These are very sciencey and very much in the space of reflection. A very basic understanding of empathy, which is accurate, is when you can put yourself in someone else's shoes and you can feel what they feel. And when you do this, you go to a place within you that is empathetic and has the ability to feel those feelings. If you have never had a negative experience in your life, a situation, something happened, you may not have that space to go to. That's okay. That doesn't make you any less of a human being. But I will say that everybody I've met in my life, personally, professionally, has had a space where they have held negative experiences that have happened to them in the past. So what I'm saying is everyone I've met in my lifetime has had at least one not so great experience in their life. So I'm going to make a judgment, and this is how research is done. They take a small population and they apply it to the rest. So my research on the people that I've known and know, I'm going to say just about every human being has had some negative aspect, experience, situation in their life once, somewhere, a few times. So you dig into that and you empathize, you be with a person to understand what those feelings might be. It's not about saying I understand, and it's not about understanding the experience. It's about recognizing where that person is at and sitting with them. I'm going to read a little bit more. In a study exploring self-reflection and empathy, this author found a link between empathy and reflection. Self-reflection, which is associated with openness to experience. If you've ever looked at the 5-factor model, openness to experience is one of those factors that personality is developed from or derived from. But openness to experience, which can be seen to be positively related to adaptive and facilitative forms of empathy. Self-reflection was not, in this study, linked to personal distress, showing that some types of self-attentiveness may enhance an ability to empathize with others. Training individuals to engage in self-reflection rather than self-rumination, ruminating is going over and over and over something, can therefore be seen to have applications in increasing a person's ability to empathize. In addition, self-reflection was seen to have potential benefits towards reducing personal distress and feelings of guilt, shame, or worthlessness, which would again affect interpersonal relationships positively. Individuals who report high clarity about their feelings were more likely to react from negative moods and were less likely to engage in self-rumination. So, that last part, if that's all you take away, individuals who reported high clarity about their feelings, reflected, were more likely to react from negative moods, come out of negative moods, and less likely to engage in self-rumination, that constant worry thought process over and over again. So if just reflecting on your work practices, on your study practices, on your life can help us with our mood and our ability to manage our thoughts, that sounds pretty darn good. So there's lots of research around the importance of reflective practice, the benefit of reflective practice, the outcomes of reflective practice. I'm saying practice too many times. There is a lot of research out there. I encourage you, if you are unsure about the practice of reflection, to find that research. It won't be hard. You could just Google reflective practice. You could Google benefits of reflective practice. How do I engage in reflective practice? Whatever you want. The Google options are endless if you were to search just about anything, but if you're staying on topic to reflective practice, the benefits are endless to its practice and what you will find. We are very lucky as human beings that we have this ability for introspection. I do believe animals have some ability. I'm not an animal researcher. I've read some research. I've looked at animals that I've had in my own house, and I think that they can reflect. I think that they do have feelings. I'm sure of it. And I think they can reflect, but they're a bit harder to study. Humans have been studied and outcomes have been measured into how beneficial reflective practice can be and is if we are practicing. I want to leave you with just some closing remarks on reflective practice. That this process allows a sense of order to be brought to how we describe experiences, and for those experiences to be brought into conscious awareness. There is an argument that humans are either passive to their environment or assertive to their environment. So by that means, do we just operate in response to what happens around us? Are we not in control? The rain is going to rain. The clock is going to tick 24 hours in a day. We just go on with life. Or are we ahead of that? Are we predicting? Are we trying? Are we doing? Are we actively engaged in life? And reflection can be seen as actively engaging in that. So we're bringing what the experience was, we're recognizing the thoughts to it, and we're bringing it to conscious awareness. We're not just passive to what's happening around us, we're bringing it to light. When we contemplate on an experience or an event, and it makes us think introspectively, and it makes us think about the world around us, we have the opportunity to learn more, to learn new, and to behave differently as well, if that's appropriate. Reflective practice has to involve observational and analytical skills, being turned towards ourselves. It's this self-evaluation and analysis of one's own actions. And we are critiquing them. I've said in this session and many times, we are our strongest, worst, best critique of ourselves. Reflective practice allows us to do that, but not in a tearing down way. The purpose of reflective practice is not to say, oh yeah, I thought about that and I was the worst thing and I did the worst thing and I'm the worst person. No. If you start to go into that territory, please write to me. We're going to have some sessions so that we don't enter that territory. It's not helpful for you. It's not helpful for anyone. It will impact your mood. It will impact your well-being. That's not reflective practice. That's negative thought patterns, cognitive distortions, things that are trying to beat you down because we are our worst critic. I want you to think about being observational and analytical around what did I do? How did it work? Is there anything better I can do? Just a few simple questions like that. What did I do? How did it work? Was it good? Not good? What would I do next time? That could be reflective practice. It doesn't have to be huge. It can be as huge as you want it. I've said that. When we are in this self-reflective place, it does have a connection to the body. Remember, this book was called Body, Movement, and Dance in Psychotherapy. Yeah. So psychotherapy is a practice, is a talking therapy practice, all encompassing. You might have heard of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. That is a practice within psychotherapy. But when we engage in reflective practice, we make a connection to the body. We have greater awareness of ourselves, our brain and our body. And we develop effective, useful practices that don't try to beat us down, but build us up. So just think, if you had insight, awareness, critical reflection into you and what you do, and that could help you be healthier, happier, improve your overall sense of well-being. Well-being is not just about happiness, but improve your well-being. That sounds like a pretty wonderful practice to me. So that's the summation of reflective practice. You could watch lots of videos. You could read lots of papers. I encourage you to do so. I'm a big fan of reflective practice. I studied it quite a lot several years ago as part of my studies and to improve my work practices. I studied to learn, to do, and now I do. And I still study and I still learn and I still do. But I encourage you to learn more. There's only so much space for all of the stuff we teach. It's not going to make you an expert in the AOD field or the community services field or the mental health field. I don't know when expert status is achieved. I don't have it, so I can't tell you. And I've been studying for a very long time. But it's what you put in, what you get out. So if you want to learn more, ask the questions. Do the research. You don't have to write a research journal, just Google. But find out for you, for your learning, to improve what you would like to in your life. Thank you.